Hello and welcome to my video showcasing my current work in progress Confederate American Civil War army. These miniatures are Perry Miniatures 28mm Confederate Infantry from their American Civil War range. These guys I bought a while back, built up, and I've only just got around to painting them. After having a bit of a binge on American Civil War, it's kind of really given me the oomph and the get go to get them painted. I kind of got a bit of an idea of what I wanted from this army, and that was to have a nice big army which looks okay on the table, and something I can just kind of play with nice and quick. I went for quite a basic paint scheme, again just something that I can get chucked down nice and quick so I can get playing. I'm a big believer of or big follower of the tabletop standard paint schemes. You know, I think there's a lot of really nice painted miniatures out there. However, I don't overly have the patience or the skills to put a lot of time into painting an army when really I just want to get on play. And also I'm a big fan of big armies, and if I were to pump a load of time into painting these armies, it'd take forever and I just wouldn't do it. So yeah, this army my current work in progress army it's not completed yet. I'm probably going to add to it, but this is what I've got so far. This is just, like I said, a single box set from the Perry's American Civil War range. I've gone for the army to look ideally a bit more uniform than the typical rag and tag Confederate look that you normally get impression of. So I've kind of gone for more greys and kepi style hats. I really like the kepi, and it kind of really drew me to the American Civil War. I think it's kind of cool hat. It's quite an iconic hat for the American Civil War, so I wanted to make sure my army had a lot of it. Again, ideally having that kind of showing a more of a veteran, well I say veteran side, a bit more of a uniform side, rather than a band of militia almost, where they've got their own coloured shirts on and their own little slouch hats. I wanted to kind of have a bit more of an army feel to it, so that's why I've gone with the more prominent, the more prominent grey and the kepi hats. I have got some slouch hats in there, and I've got some of more colours, so a bit more of the butternut, which is quite common in Confederate armies, and a few browns here and there, and lighter greys, but mainly focusing around the grey. That's just a personal preference. I just really like the way it looks, and I think as a basic paint style that I went for, I think it looks okay, and I quite like it actually. I was quite impressed really how it turned out. So in this box set, it's 44 miniatures, which has enabled me to build what I've got in front of the camera now. This is going to be 5 8-man squads, and then 4 leftovers, which 2 of them are officers, 1 of them's a drummer, and 1 of them's my banner bearer, or flag man, however you want to call it, I don't even know. So just showing off some of my current stuff then. So this, I say it's a work in progress, it is pretty much painted. I've just got to base it. I've started basing it. I just want to chuck a load of static grass on there, and probably that would finish off the bases. They are based on penny pieces, English penny pieces, if that helps. So that's 21mm diameter, if I believe. This was purely, I did this on this army just because I've done it on previous historical armies, and they're all going to ideally be sharing the same movement trays, because the games I want to be playing, straight away I want to be playing sharps practice with this army. I think I can play Civil War with that, so I want to be using this army for that. And that is the same rule set I've used for my Napoleonics I've got as well, which are on 21mm penny piece bases, so I can use the same movement trays. It saves me buying loads and loads of movement trays. I bought a bunch of movement trays when I first started my Napoleonics from a really good company online, but since I bought them, the company's kind of gone offline, if that makes sense. So their shop's still there, but you just can't really buy anything, and I think they've had a big rejig with the company, so I'm waiting for them to come back online where I can buy a load more bases. But till then, I'm stuck with my handful of trays, so that's kind of why I want to make them last through quite a few armies, because I've got, like I said, I've got my Napoleonics and I've got a Roman army I'm working on as well, Republican Romans, so they can kind of all, based on pennies, share the same trays. Right, so that's kind of the basics of my army and what I've done it and why I've done it in this way. I'm just showing off a few models then. So here's my officer who is going to be leading them into the fray. I've painted him up in a slightly lighter grey tunic than the rest of the infantry, just to kind of show a slight bit of difference to him, maybe a bit more of a nicer uniform. I noticed in stuff I've been watching and researching up into the American Civil War, the officers seem to kind of have whatever. If it was with the Confederates anyway, if it's a rough grey, there's such a variation in greys. I noticed they kind of had quite a prominent, more of a bluey grey as well, which I'm looking to buy some more officer models, so I'm probably going to be throwing them into a bit more of a different grey per model, just to show the variation they had. So this guy's I've just painted up with gold trim on his sleeves, which denoted, I say denoted rank. They had markings on their collars that showed their rank, but on the sleeves would also vary on different ranks on how far up it went up the sleeve, I believe. So I don't know what I'm going to run this guy as yet. I need to do a bit of research, but I mean I could run him as whatever I wanted. I could run him as a captain or a colonel. So yeah, it's kind of, I can do what I want really. Sharps practice doesn't really matter in the end of the day. It's a bit of fun, so I could probably find out what unit size I'd be running if it was a colonel. I'm looking to add at least another 36 models to this bunch here. So you know, I've got the numbers there to throw around and see what sort of size unit or force that would be, and kind of what officer would run that. Obviously, you're going to have your little your I say commission, so your officers below your main leader, your main officer. This could be sergeants, captains, lieutenants. So I've got all that to play with as well. The next model I was going to show is just my musician I made. I say made, he was part of the box set. That's just how he came. I chose the yellow markings because I thought it looked really nice, although that often indicated a cavalry regiment or division or whatever. Infantry, I believe, were normally marked with kind of a blue, and artillery were red. Don't quote me on it, but yeah, I think that's right. So I went for the yellow just because I thought it looked nice, added a bit of difference. I know it's not really a lot of red in this army, but most of the armies I've painted recently tend to just have a red theme to them, and I want to kind of avoid that, so I went for a yellow. It's not the end of the world. It looks okay. I think it looks nice. This is my banner. My bannerman I'm going to have. He obviously is yet to have a flag. I'm not sure what flag to give him yet, and also I've lost my flag, so I need to get hold of some more. But the flags, I need to look into. I'd quite like to have him in Longstreet's division, somewhere along there, so I need to kind of find out what commanders were within that. I quite focused around the Gettysburg engagement and battle, so probably just going to have a look a bit more into there, who was under Longstreet and what they were, basically what regiments they were, what divisions they were, and then probably follow that, so make sure I'm getting the right flag for that. Again, the flags don't really matter, but it just has a bit of flavour to the army. The next guy I've got here is just, oh, he's dropped. He's the same model as the officer. I've just given him different arms, so he's got that same coat. I've given this guy a rifle, and I've changed his arms up so he doesn't have that insignia, whatever you call it, on his sleeves. This is again just showing he's obviously not of a higher rank. He's more of a, what I'd almost say, a sergeant. So like I said, he's the same model, but I've done less gold trims to it. He's got a bit more silver buttons and just a plain hat, but still he's got that nicer frock coat or whatever they called it. So that's my officers and my musician. I've got a few guys I can point out quickly. So normal one guy, normal infantryman, he's just advancing. So I've got, this is on this one, you can probably see the greys. my grey uniform I use. Again, I know that I say I've got a grey uniform, but I know the Confederates had about 20 different greys. I'm sure that they all just bounce between when clothes are made in certain areas or whatever. But again, I'm just playing it easy. I just want to make a nice easy army that is going to look good enough to play, and that's why I went with this style. So here's another guy in his grey. His jacket's unpinned, which unbuttoned, sorry, not unpinned. Which, yeah, so it's really nice sculpts. I'm really quite impressed with them. They went together. I thought they looked okay when I glued them together. When I actually started painting them, I realised how much detail there was actually in them, and really impressed with them. Similar sort of sculpt to this one, but I've given him the button-up jacket just to change it up a bit. I have got a few of the button-up around there, or my interpretation of the button-up, which I kind of threw together, and I thought, yeah, that looks alright, and I kept it. And I've got some browns as well. So there's one guy back here who's got a brown jacket on. Again, just adding a bit of variation there, but I didn't want to go too mad on the. I guess if I wanted to do it properly, I could go crazy on having all the different colours, but I didn't want to. I liked the grey. I wanted a majority grey, and just bits and bobs here and there. They've all got, well, I say a lot of the models have got what would I say, what I call their blanket kind of wrapped around them. I'm guessing that was their blanket, their bed, what they slept in when they were on the march. So a lot of them have that wrapped around there, so I've kind of given different coloured blankets. I've got a couple of reds here. You can see that, he's just got a red one wrapped around him. I've got some creams as well, some darker greys, and some green. It's just a few greens, it's a bit of a muddy green, or an earthy green, so it's not going to look too out there. I could have done a pattern on these blankets to make them a bit more, I say realistic, but a bit more attractive, but I thought with an army like this I just wanted to get it done and get it out there, so I've kept it quite basic. A lot of the paint scheme has just been base colours and washing. Again, just getting it nice and basic and just getting the numbers cranked out. There's a few details I went in there with a bit of patience and well, yeah, a bit of patience and a bit of skill in there. I say skill, it's not a lot of skill, it's just tiny little details. But I found that really made the models pop, just having the bags they carry and their tank water bottles. I went for the water bottles going for a metallic colour, so they got the metal canteens rather than having quite a common wooden one. Again, that was just time. It was quite easy to just chuck a metal on there, give it a wash, and that's it really. And I think it looks nice, and I'm quite happy with it. I'm quite happy with the army. For something I spent not a lot of time on in the grand scheme of how well the amount of effort people put into painting, how much time they spend painting, I would say I've spent hardly anything on this, and it's got an alright level, and I'll be happy enough to take this to my local games club and play a few games with it. Like I said, these guys need basing, just got to finish them off. Hoping to buy the Perry's, obviously 28mm American Civil War Infantry box set, where that box set is a bit more universal on what army you use it for. It can be Union and Confederate. I'm thinking of buying that just because it's going to give me a few different poses. I've noticed on the box set it gives me the poses of people reloading and shooting, and I thought that'd be quite useful, picking up that box set and using those individual models as skirmishers rather than the block line infantry that I've currently made. You do get a few different commander models as well, so it's not the same sprue as this, it is a different sprue, so I'm going to get a few different commander models and a few different musicians. I think the drummer's a different pose, and then a banner bearer is going to be different as well. So I've got that just to spice it up a bit, change it up a bit, rather than having all the same models. So you can get away with it in the line infantry, because I think there's a lot of variation with hats, arms, the bodies are quite. You do have quite a varied body style. I don't think there's a lot of difference. I think there's only 4 or 5 sculpts of the bodies on these infantry, but how you can change them up is with heads and how you even paint them I think it does blend in quite well, and you wouldn't really spot the same sculpted body quite easily. So it does vary it up a lot, and like I say, if I get this other box set, I'm going to have that variation again. I think a lot of the miniatures in that are marching, and then like you've got quite a few reloading and shooting. So I think it'll yeah, it should make the pad out the army I've made. I don't really need another infantry box set really, but I do really like the infantry. I think they look awesome. If I could throw, you know, 6 or 7 units of 8 on the table and run them around, I think it's going to look really cool. I could run cannons or cavalry, but I don't overly like painting cannons, and I don't overly like painting cavalry. This army's more for keeping me happy rather than playing the game. I don't want to min-max the game really, I'm not bothered. I quite like the idea and having a big blob of infantry running around. I've played Napoleonic games where I've got quite an elite British force. I run a Highlander force for Sharps, and I've played against some French conscripts armies, and it just looks really fun where they've got this massive blob of French conscripts that just act as a bit of a big meaty hammer when it comes to fighting. They're quite hard to deal with, even though they're cheap expendable units. So I kind of like that idea of having just a big blob of infantry and letting them cause a fuss. So that's my idea. That's the thought behind this army. Hope you liked it. Again, it's just a bit of an insight of what I've been working on. I've got a few more armies I can show off. Like I said, hopefully I'm going to add to this army and expand it, and yeah, get some good games with it hopefully. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching anyway, and well, I guess keep an eye out for any other videos I'll be doing in the future. Thank you very much.